So, hello, and welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what I like to bring to games of Kill Team. So, first of all, I have to give a little bit of credit to a channel which you probably all know called Kanye who did do some Kill Team videos, started doing not Warcry, but Shadespire videos again, but he did a really good video on stuff that he likes to take to Kill Team tournaments and stuff. And some of his ideas I've borrowed, and some of them I haven't. And I'm just going to go through what I've got packed into my box for taking to Kill Team events and for taking out when I'm playing Kill Team at home, and explain my rationale. And I'll try and put links to some of the different things down in the comments. None of this is sponsored or paid for. This is all stuff that I've gone out and bought myself, so you don't have to worry about any of that, right? So on the first slide there, and I'll show the picture again at the end, you saw how it looked when I had it all packed away into the box, and this is just it spread out a bit more so I can talk about each of the individual items and elements. The box itself, this was one of the things that Kanye recommended. That is off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. It's just a little compartmentalized box, so you can move and take these little walls out. So I've made, like here, you can see I've made like an extra long space here for rulers and a pen and things like that. And this big square down here where I've got my deck of cards, now that I did have to modify with some hobby cutters, because these long walls, they come in one long piece, so I actually had to cut there with some cutters, but it still stayed relatively sturdy. So normally packed into that big segment here, we'll do that first. I'm going to swap to another colour so it's clear. So I've got my deck of cards from Octarius, just one of the two decks, because the other one's in, my wife's got a very similar setup, so the other half's in her setup. Also in there, I've got a pad of post-it notes that I use for jotting down my equipment or anything like that. It's quite often you need to jot things down during the game, I find. And also in that compartment, usually I've got this, which I've just positioned in a stupid place, but is an Army Painter laser line, and it's on one of the branded Games Workshop lanyards that you get when you go to their official events, just because I like to put it around my neck while I'm playing, because then I don't forget where I've put it down. I've talked a little bit about those Army Painter laser lines before. I find them really useful. Some people actually say you should buy two, so you can make both the cover lines off every model. I think that's a little bit over the top, but if you've got one and your opponent's got one, then you have access to two during the game. Really, really useful. Actually bought that a long time ago. I used to play, what was it called now? Not Battleship Gothic, but there was another spaceships game. I think it's going out of print now, and that used laser lines. Yeah, that was fun. Not X-Wing or any of those popular ones. It's one that's gone out of print now. The name escapes me, but I used laser lines for that. That's why I picked that up. But it's really good for Kill Team. There's a number of games where a laser line's pretty good. I know a couple of people are going to pop up in the comments and say, "Oh, they're not always perfectly straight," but I've found mine to be straight enough for me and my opponents in the games that I've played, so I find it useful. Go through the other things. I will talk a little bit about the tokens. So all these tokens here, those in there, and these ones up here, those are from a company called Buy the Same Token, which is the second thing that I've cribbed from this Kanye Roller Crit video, because he recommended them and they're very, very good. I'll tell you what makes them so good. They're one of the only acrylic token companies where the tokens actually come pre-coloured. So with a lot of them, you have to colour them in with like a wax crayon or similar, which seems like a huge faff. These come pre-coloured, so you can see that here I've got the concealed tokens, here I've got the engaged tokens, and here I've got plastic versions of all the other tokens that come in the Kill Team box. Don't use many of them, but I've got them there in case I want them. I also keep the cardboard tokens that I have left that I hadn't lost in a little baggie in case my opponent hasn't got any tokens. I'm doing a teaching game and then I've got some tokens to lend out, which is good. Now, Buy the Same Token do make more Kill Team tokens that I've chosen not to buy. They make a little dagger thing, which is like the current player token that you're supposed to pass backwards and forwards. I've never used a current player token in any Games Workshop game. They've started to include them a lot, but I've never ever found them useful, so I didn't buy that. They've also got their own little wound countery magnety things that I can't be doing with, and they've got objectives which I can't be doing with either, and they're £16 for some reason for the 6 objectives, which contributes a lot to the price. All the other tokens are more reasonably priced. I'll put the link in the description. So in terms of objectives, currently I'm using these down here. And those are a set of official Games Workshop Warhammer community objectives. They're exactly the same size and utility as the cardboard objectives that come in Kill Team, but they're made of metal and they look quite cool. I think they were limited edition for a store reopening or the launch of something. To be honest, I'm not actually wonderfully happy with them. What I want is what I've seen on LVO and in a couple of other places, is actually flat objective tokens that have the triangle and circle radiuses labelled on them. So you can actually position terrain and models over them, and you can understand when you're in the triangle and circle radii. I've seen those, but I can't find anywhere useful to buy them in the UK. But I'd love to buy a set of objectives like that were made of like that flat acetate stuff that could slide under buildings and miniatures. It's difficult for me to explain, but if you watch the any of the LVO coverage, they used them. I think the ones in LVO were orange. I think Glass Half Dead's got some on his battle reports. He uses them, but I can't work out where you get them from. But I'd love to buy some. We've got some D8s, so it's worth saying this is the box as packed up for playing with my novitiates. So if I was to change to use another faction, there are some things I would change out, and one of them would be the D8s, because everything in the novitiates kill team has 7 wounds. So I use these nice orange D8s as my wound dice. I don't want to use little white or little magnetic spinnery things to trap my wounds. I like to use a dice. I like to use a D8 or something like that if possible, because then no one's going to pick it up and think it's a dice for rolling, because you don't roll D8s or D10s or D12s in Kill Team. You only roll D6. So I think it's nice and clear. I know, because I always get a comment to this effect, and I'm waiting for that comment today saying I don't like to have dice on the table for marking stuff. Why can't we have some nice tokens? But I find wound tokens to be really very annoying. That's just me. I use nice D8s. I've got my official Games Workshop novitiates dice, because I am a sucker for their gamer bling. I know it's 20 quid for a packet of dice, but if they make stuff that's worth having, I will buy it. That's good. You know, I wish they made official acrylic tokens. Not that the buy the same token ones aren't really nice, they are, but I don't know why they persist in making the cardboard tokens, because my cardboard tokens already getting dog-eared around the corners, especially the triangle ones, right? Because you use them all the time, and the triangle, it seems to be really, really easy to start it peeling up at the top. They start to look really grotty and dog-eared. I've got my 3 official barricades, gotta have those. Yeah, you could make your own barricades, but I actually just like to use the official ones. I painted up in really neutral colours, so in theory if I change teams I can still use my 3 barricades. Yes, you could convert ones to use for your own faction, but I just think it's going to solve problems in the long run. If you're going to use the standard size ones, then nobody can say, oh, that bit of that barricade's a couple of mil too big, or anything like that. Just, yeah, quite like using the standard ones. I had them anyway. What else? This thing up here, which I have cunningly photographed upside down, that came in the Gamers edition of one of the Warhammer 40,000 rule sets. I'm going to go for 7th, but I could be wrong. And what that essentially is a cardboard thing with 2 wheels, one for counting victory points and one for counting command points. So I use that to count my victory points and my command points, and then I also will balance this. This is a Magic the Gathering spin down, so it's like a D20, except it's numbered consecutively. So number 2 is next to number 1, and number 3 is next to number 2, and so on and so forth. So you can see on the picture, there's 12 there, and then right next to it there is 11, and then because this was from a Magic set called 10th edition, the 10 is an X, which is slightly annoying, but, you know, and that's what I use for counting up my faith points. Now, what I would really like is, there is out there, a couple of different people have seen it, there's like a thing, and this is what Kanye Roller Crit uses, and a couple other people have used in their videos. There's like a dashboard with loads of little ones on where you can actually track the points scored on each round, and the points scored from all the secondaries, and your command points as well. If somebody made one of those that also had an extra dial for tracking faith, so that I didn't need to carry around that d20 as well, then I'd be all for that. But whenever I'm going to need to carry around a random spin down to track the faith points, I don't feel like getting some kind of acrylic bling to track the VP and the CP, if that makes sense. So if someone with a acrylic, I don't know, what are they called, an acrylic lathe, a CAD-CAM machine, I'm clueless, is out there, wants to do me a design, right, that will do command points, victory points, preferably spread out from different sources, and faith points, then I'd buy one. And then I don't know whether you'd sell enough to make you to make it worth your while, but I'd definitely buy one. What else have I got? So Loom bands. Mrs. Tabletop Impulse got really into Loom bands when they were a big fad in the UK, and they're actually pretty useful just for balancing on models. You know, you like hook one over a model's arm. Just when I use them only really in those missions where you can pick up the objectives. You just can hook one over your model, and everyone knows, right, that model's got hold of the objective. It doesn't damage the model or anything like that. There are some things you can buy that clip onto the bases, but and they look much nicer, right? But then you have to pick your model up, clip it onto the base, and then put it back in that right spot, rather than just dropping a Loom band onto it. So swings and roundabouts there. Again, if anyone's got a more elegant, bespoke solution to that one, let me know. And then finally, coming up for finally anyway, in this long pocket, we've got a few things. So obviously, pen, because you'd have to be quite a fool to take a pad of paper and not take a pen. The official Kill Team measuring widgets, which I have painted along with the colours that make up the various symbols. So there's red, and there's two of the other ones with the special thin metal one that you got for pre-ordering Octarius when it was in its pre-order window. Actually, that metal one's really nice because it's much thinner, so you can kind of fit it into more places, and it's got a nicer weight, and I really enjoy using that tool more than the plastic one. I just keep the plastic one in the box in case, you know, my opponent hasn't got the right measuring things, or sometimes when you're doing deployment zones it's useful to have multiple copies, so it's in there because otherwise it's going to get thrown away, and that seems like a shame. And finally, I have this little widget, and now this is something which I bought years and years ago. Mrs. Tabletop Impulse and I were both really into War Machine. I want to say War Machine and Hordes, but neither of us played Hordes because robots are cool. And basically what it is it's little sections, so each little section is like 1 inch. And you screw them together, and you can make a measuring stick of however long that you need it to be. So this one is set up to be the same length as the red stick. I've got 2 other little pieces here for it, so I can make it a little bit longer or shorter. And it's very robust, very thin, and it can roll into the, you know, it can roll into the gaps that you need to measure things. It's a bit nice to use than the stick. Really, I tend to use myself the metal stalk and the metal official widget, and then I carry the plastic stalk and the plastic widget in case my opponent wants to use some tools as well. And that is everything that I have packed in my box to take to a event, or just to pull off the shelf to play Kill Team at home. So my first question is there anything that I've missed? Is there anything that you have for playing Kill Team that you think that I absolutely should have, right? Please leave me a comment, right, because I'm really interested to know what other people are using. I've not actually played any games yet with these tokens. I've had them for ages, but with one thing or another, the entire month of January's passed. I've not had Zimbad round once to play a game. He was very unwell, and then Mrs. Tabletop Impulse has been unwell, and then this week it's her birthday, so my mother-in-law is coming round. There's just all sorts of things going on, so we haven't had a chance to play a game of Kill Team for all of January and now going into February, but we are going to go to the team event in March. Myself, Mrs. Tabletop Impulse and Zimbad, so we'll be there. Hopefully we'll get some games in before that so we don't get absolutely rolled. That would be nice. I mean, it's supposed to be a narrative kind of event, but I've spoken to another friend of mine who's going, and they are certainly taking it extremely seriously. So we'll see how we go. Desperately need to get more games at the moment, but life's like that, right? I wanted to make a mention of the starter set items. I have found on eBay the mini rulebook and the Recruit Edition booklet that were in the new starter set. So I've got those coming. I'm going to do a quick review. I know a lot of people have already had them from the boxes that they got early and everything else. I'm going to do a quick review of those. I wanted the Recruit Edition mainly because, you know, I'm planning still this video about how the best way is to teach people Kill Team, and the Recruit Edition is something else that I want to be aware of. You may have seen my review of the Fire Team box game, and this is all part of the same project that I want to talk about and know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So that's coming, and the mini rulebook's interesting because I'm hopeful that the mini rulebook will sort of fit. If not in the box, it at least would be, you know, you could put like a little elastic band around the box here and it would be about the same width as the box, which would be cool. Of course, you're still taking either your Compendium or your Chalnath book or your Octarius book or your White Dwarf, depending on, right, what team it is you're playing. But, you know, it just makes things a little bit more compact, which is good. The only other thing I would say on that is, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, use Wikipedia, or oh, just photograph everything and put it on a tablet rules-wise. If you go to GW events, they do say in their pack that you've got to have a official copy of all the rules that you want to use. So there's that kind of tax element. I do remember that myself and Mrs. Tabletop Impulse, when we wanted to go to the first Kill Team tournament they did at Warhammer World, you know, we went out and bought a second Compendium, and we got a second core rulebook off eBay so that we could both have a Compendium and a core rulebook each, right, to go off to the tournament. In the event, I don't think anybody actually checked or cared, and I think I saw plenty of people there with bits of photocopied stuff, but it was in the pack, so, you know, better safe than sorry. Alright, and that's about it from me, and that's my take on the stuff that you should have with you to play a game of Kill Team and where you can get it from. I'm going to try and remember to get all those different links down in the description for the different bits and pieces. I hope you found that useful. I hope you found that interesting. If you buy a laser line, I think they're on Element Games, so please do buy one off Element Games if you can. All the other things are sadly not available on Element Games, but I'll include the links in the description anyway, even though I won't be making any money off any of those, sadly. Right? If you like the video, press like. If you want to see more videos, then please subscribe. Loads of people watch videos and come back and watch more videos, but they don't subscribe, and pressing subscribe really helps me out. So if this is like the third or fourth video of mine that you've watched, and it keeps coming up on your recommended page, if you press the subscribe button, it costs you nothing and it really helps me, so consider. Thanks everybody. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of your day, whatever you're doing. And I will see you again for the next video on Friday.